If I was to ask you what the best Amtrak train is, you would have a lot of choices.
The Northeast Regional, because it's the most ridden.
The Acela, because it's the fastest.
It's obviously the California Zephyr, because you can see beautiful scenery, like Naperville.
But I would offer up another route as potentially the network's best, a state-sponsored train with world-class speed and frequency, and the only electrified Amtrak route outside the Northeast Corridor. This is the Amtrak Keystone, a train that connects Harrisburg, Lancaster, and Philadelphia with New York City, and the very first Amtrak train I rode as a kid. I figured it would be the perfect trip for this channel's 10-year anniversary. But why is this, of all routes, electrified? Are the Amish allowed to ride it? And will it be around next year? The only way to find out is to go for a ride. The Keystone takes the Northeast Corridor from New York to Philadelphia, then follows the old Pennsylvania Railroad main line from there to Harrisburg, which is the bit we'll be riding today. Here with the history of the line is PensyFan 19.
The segment in the line between Philadelphia and Harrisburg was once part of the Pennsylvania Railroad's mighty main line. Originally built in 1832 by the Philadelphia and Columbia Railroad, it was eventually acquired by the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1857, where practically all of their traffic between the two cities and elsewhere in the system moved to route. And it's also the reason why we have the mainline region near Philadelphia, because several towns spurred from the creation of this line. Out of all the lines in the Pensy, the section between Philadelphia and Paoli was the first segment to be electrified in 1915 with commuter rail service offered by MP54 EMUs that lasted all the way up until the 80s, and then the line was further electrified to Harrisburg in 1938, with plans to electrify up to Pittsburgh being cancelled due to World War II. Commuter service was even extended all the way up to Harrisburg, with some trips using Silverliners, and some of these runs would later be reincarnated to the present-day Amtrak Keystone service between Philly and Harrisburg.
Today, trains stop in Philadelphia's 30th Street station.
But that wasn't always the case. In fact, at one point, trains that became the Amtrak Keystone started here at Suburban Station in Center City, Philadelphia.
Why is there a station called Suburban that is right at the exact center of the city?
Well, to answer Tor's curiosity, Suburban Station serves trains that go to the Philadelphia suburbs, and formerly, trains to Harrisburg. For the record, that was short people POV of a train coming in.
I had to do it for my short friends.
Amtrak suspended service here in 1988 when they switched the Keystone to diesel power, serving only 30th Street. This change remained when the line was re-electrified in 2006. 2 years later, 9-year-old Caleb would ride his first electrified Keystone.
Where are you headed today?
Philly.
What for?
Franklin Institute.
Are you sure you're not just in it for the train ride?
Back in the present day, we jump on a SEPTA Silverliner 4 to make our way out of Suburban Station and over to William H. Gray III 30th Street Station, opened by the Pennsy in 1933 to capitalize on the growing New York to DC market. This is my favorite station on the whole Amtrak network.
Alright, my train's not boarding yet, so time for a quick hits tour of 30th Street Station.
On the east side of the concourse, a statue of a giant angel holding a fallen soldier looks out over the passengers, honoring Pennsylvania Railroad workers who lost their lives during World War II. Near the station's lounge, another artwork titled The Spirit of Transportation depicts the forward march of transport technology. This used to hang in Philadelphia's old Broad Street station and dates back to 1895.
But one of my favorite parts of 30th Street Station is not part of the main passenger concourse. It's the parking garage. And I'm off to see it. It is a different day because I'm wearing a different shirt, and I think you'll like it.
Passing back through the SEPTA concourse and an office building, we take an elevator to the top of the station's parking garage to get an excellent view of the northbound tracks. Multiple Avalia Liberty train sets await their service debut on the Acela the day after this video goes up. A weirdly short consist pulls north from the platforms. Not sure what's going on here. A Northeast Regional rolls south en route to Washington, and an Atlantic City Line train pulls in from Atlantic City. A CSX train crawls north on the High Line to the west. Work diesels scuttle about. And here we see the mighty Amtrak Keystone. Trains typically have about 4 Amfleet 1 cars, sandwiched between an ACS-64 electric locomotive and a former Metroliner cab car. Trains reverse direction in Philadelphia, so when this train pulls out again, the Metroliner will be at the front. Once, long ago, Metroliners were self-propelled multiple units, intended to be America's answer to the Shinkansen. But since they proved to be mechanical nightmares, all the remaining units have been converted into cab cars.
So looking out at all these trains, it's just really cool to be enjoying my hobby. And I feel like I really want to distill my experience of what these trains are into one word, but I'm having trouble. What do you think, Tom?
I'd say trains are awesome.
Meanwhile, back at the station.
So the annoying thing about boarding here at 30th Street is you have to wait in line until your train gate opens, and there's already a long line, so hopefully I still get a window seat.
We head downstairs to catch our train towards Harrisburg. Just like all Amfleet services, cars on the Keystone have big, cushy seats and lots of legroom. Soon we pull out and pass the yard, after which the SEPTA Paoli-Thorndale line joins us. Then we're out of the city and rolling through suburbia. As PensyFan19 mentioned, many of these communities were built around the railway, and one, called Haverford, was where my parents went to college and met. Another, called Villanova, is where Pope Leo got his undergraduate degree in mathematics. And speaking of religion, the line we're on lends itself to the term mainline Protestant, for often liberal-leaning Christian denominations that grew up around the Pennsylvania Railroad main line. Some people think this line gave us the term Underground Railroad as well, from a detailed operation to move formerly enslaved persons to Philadelphia in boxcars. Dang, this script is really turning into an Avery the Cuban American comment. So why don't we have Avery himself explain the history behind Pennsylvania's odd nickname that the Keystone is named after?
Pennsylvania's nickname of the Keystone State refers to its geographical and economic centrality to the original 13 colonies, and for its key role in the founding of the United States. A keystone is a central wedge-shaped stone in an arch, which holds all the other stones in place.
The Keystone takes 1 hour and 45 minutes to make the 104-mile run between Philadelphia and Harrisburg, at an average speed of about 60 miles per hour, made possible thanks to electrification and concrete ties along the route. Re-electrification of the old Pennsylvania Railroad infrastructure, along with speed upgrades, took place between 2000 and 2006 as part of a massive corridor rehabilitation project overseen by Amtrak and the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. Today, 13 trains a day cross the corridor, with a Harrisburg to Philadelphia ticket costing $36 one way, booked day of. In fairness, modern electrification of this line was a bit easier than other places that rail advocates have championed, since the supporting infrastructure was already there from the Pennsy, but it still needed investment, and that came together. After Thorndale, we leave SEPTA territory as we continue towards Coatesville. This industrial city will soon be home to a new high-level station and extended SEPTA services. We stop in Parksburg and blitz through Atglen, where an abandoned branch stretches off to the south. This is the beginning of the Enola Low Grade, a 29-mile freight-only bypass of the main line, built by the Pennsylvania Railroad between 1902 and 1906, stretching from Atglen to the Susquehanna via Quarryville. Railroad mergers in the 60s and 70s made the line redundant, and the last train ran here under Conrail in 1988. Since then, this massive engineering project has been converted into a trail, where you can still find remnants of multiple train wrecks, including one Conrail train which derailed after striking a boulder. The Keystone, meanwhile, turns slightly north, passing Christiana at its station without stopping, then reaching Gap. We're now in beautiful Lancaster County, passing the studio where I did ballet as a kid and watched trains going by in the parking lot. Then we turn a corner and accelerate into the open Pennsylvania Dutch farmland, hitting our top speed outside the NEC of 110 miles per hour. Blink and you'll miss Lehman Place Junction, where the Keystone meets the Strasburg Railroad, a 4-mile steam tourist railroad popular with railfans all over the country. At one point, there was talk of building a station here to allow passengers to transfer between the Strasburg and the Keystone, as well as to better serve local communities, including the Amish. Unfortunately, due to a variety of complications that I've gone into in previous videos, this never became reality. This digital version of what it might have looked like was created by Jonathan Wu, a recent Classy Whale video contest winner. Check out the full rendering of the station on his channel. Now you may be wondering, wait, why do the Amish take the train? After all, isn't it faster than driving, which is forbidden in their religion? Well, per an Amish guy I spoke with on a train once, his community believes that members should not be given too much power over their environment, and while the mobility offered by cars and planes is too much, Amtrak is restricted enough that the community allows for it. Before too long, we're reaching the city of Lancaster, where we will be making a brief pit stop. Normally, our train would stop on the westbound platform, but that's currently undergoing renovation.
Welcome to my home city and birthplace of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Not Lancaster, that's in California, but Lancaster, where I believe DJ Pizegg is joining me.
Oh, dang it.
Lancaster Station was opened by the Pennsy in 1929 on the north of the city, replacing an older facility downtown. It was also the second busiest Amtrak station in Pennsylvania in 2024, beating out Harrisburg by over 100,000 riders in that year.
And now I'm with my sister Susanna, the original co-founder of Classywheel. Yes, it has been forever.
We set out in search of dessert before the next train.
And we got frozen yogurt.
Thank you, Patreon.
Yes.
Keep giving my brother money.
Then we're back at Lancaster Station, where Richard from the London Underground video should be joining us. This station was the starting point of my very first Amtrak journey when I was 4 years old. My parents and I took the Keystone up to Harrisburg to see a science museum, and my mom took pictures of the whole thing. I made a whole video about this journey a few years back. What's striking to me is that much of the improvements to the line, the electric power, higher speeds, and restorations to Lancaster Station happened within my lifetime. So I remember what the Keystone was like before all of this, and let me tell you, those improvements have made a world of difference. And that's truly what sets the Keystone apart. It's what modern passenger rail looks like elsewhere in the world, and proof that you don't need to have the Northeast Corridor to merit electric service on an Amtrak-owned right-of-way. Here to comment is Pennsylvanian in exile, Alex Davis.
You can think of the Keystone as a sort of control group that demonstrates basically just how destructive private ownership of rail infrastructure has been for American passenger rail service. It's not the Northeast Corridor, right? Like the corridor, in terms of population geography, it's not that impressive, compared to like the Cascades or the Hiawatha. But because Amtrak has control of that infrastructure, it's able to have massively better service. I think this is really good evidence that passenger rail in the US is facing a supply side problem, not a demand side problem. And it is mostly originating from control of infrastructure.
The cooling towers of 3 Mile Island loom in the distance as we enter Dauphin County. We reach Middletown, the newest station on the Keystone, which opened in 2023. Then we pass the Harrisburg International Airport and reach the state capitol. The station here was opened by the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1905. Electrification was supposed to continue from here to Pittsburgh, but nothing has ever come of that plan. Instead, only the once daily Pennsylvanian makes the trek out to western PA under diesel power. I'm sure the residents of Pittsburgh would appreciate access to the Keystone service. Here to comment is a Pittsburgh area resident.
How would I feel if there was several trains a day from Pittsburgh to New York City that got there really fast? Well, let me tell you, start spreading that news. I am leaving today. Broadway, here I come.
Thanks, Cecilia. Man, I haven't seen you since the old days of Classy Whale. Now, even though the Keystone is a vital piece of Pennsylvania infrastructure, there is a chance it may not be around too much longer. You see, SEPTA pays Amtrak for the right to use its main line to Thorndale. But if SEPTA loses critical funding from the state, they won't be able to pay Amtrak, which means Amtrak will lose a vital source of income for their own operations, potentially requiring them to end the Keystone service. Whatever comes of this, I sincerely hope Pennsylvanians of all political persuasions recognize the truly unique asset that the Keystone is and work to preserve it for generations to come.
And right here is the Pennsylvania State Capitol building. I would get closer, but I really want to make sure I get back to my train. Right now, in that building, people are debating whether or not there's going to be massive funding cuts to SEPTA and Pittsburgh Regional Transit and the like, and by the time you're watching this, there may be some decision made on that, but whichever way that goes, we as Pennsylvanians can at least be proud that, for once in the history of modern America, we got Amtrak right.
With that, it's back to the station and home to Philadelphia.
We're back on the Keystone heading towards Philadelphia, the last train of the night. This one actually terminates at 30th Street Station. It does not go all the way to New York City. So that's about it for this journey down memory lane for me. And now for another.
Yo voy a cantar esta canción para mi gente con una pasión gozando. Yo sigo